how you started in the industry. Give us a little bit of a rundown.
I got into hospitality at 12 years old, washing dishes, helping the chef, cutting onions. And I just walked into a place and said, give me a job.
The biggest factor for me when I was transitioning was a support network. My wife knows what I'm going to go through. She's backing me. That's all I need.
If you don't have a dream, if you don't understand where you want to go, it doesn't matter who supports you or who does support you. You've got to support yourself. That's the number one support, yourself.
What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who is on the journey to starting their business right now? Johnny Di
Francesco. Killed it. This is take two.
Today is actually a very, very casual podcast. Since we've been driving around Melbourne, we thought, how can we, bring something to the viewers that's a little different? And I feel like Melbourne's hospitality scene is, for me, a benchmark in Australia. And, especially with you being on Lygon Street, it's like the epicenter for Italian food, right?
I'm at the wrong end though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't matter. You still.
I always say I'm at the better end.
That's Lygon Street's Lygon Street,
yeah,
right?
It is, yeah.
And I just always feel like Melbourne's got this beautiful culture. Is always very accepting of anyone. You can feel like you can be yourself everywhere, and it translates through the hospitality as well. Like wherever you go, even if they don't like you, they make you feel special.
Very true.
I've
done that today. I've got to go. No, I'm saying no. But no, you're right. I think hospitality probably in Melbourne has probably the benchmark across Australia. But to be honest with you, I actually think even across the world. I travel often and I've seen, hospitality around the world. I think we've got a really good service model, which is, probably between that American and European. We're in between, so we're not too far sort of
left the field,
yeah. And we're not too and all my European friends are going to hate me for this, but we don't give arrogant service, which people love. I think that Melburnians really pride themselves on that.
Yeah, I think especially I said this to my wife openly, if Melbourne had Sydney weather, I'd move here in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And I guess if you've lived in Sydney, it's sort of hard to move out from there, because of, for me anyway, the weather is a big part, especially when I'm asthmatic. Melbourne doesn't do the best to me, but I think that's the only thing that's missing is the weather.
Yeah.
But what is amazing is if Sydney had Melbourne weather, hospitality would cripple. Because our diners don't like going out in the rain and cold. Where you guys, you have this culture. You put a coat on and you just keep marching.
Yep.
Rain, hail, shine, hail, whatever the shit's going on, we're going for dinner.
Yep.
Right?
Very true.
That's a great culture, and I find that Sydney lacks that. And no matter what anybody says, I'll say that open-heartedly. But John, I just wanted to get into sort of a bit of your background, how you started in the industry. And, a lot of people probably don't know this. Well, I know a lot of people know this, but some of our viewers don't, but you're a world champion. You're a world champ. So give us a little bit of a rundown.
So how did I start? Look, I've been in the industry since I was 12. Grew up in a really low, income, socioeconomy, right? So I was really, struggled, and we had whatever we wanted, we had to, fend for ourselves. So I got into hospitality at 12 years old, washing dishes, helping the chef, cutting onions, like, little things.
Was it a family restaurant?
No,
or
no,
you were working
no.
with
I
someone?
just walked into a place and said, give me a job.
Yeah.
I think the guy just felt sorry for me and gave me a chance. And so, I was doing that. And, a lot of people say, oh, I got into hospitality because I love food. At 12 years old, you don't love food, right? I don't know. I just eat. Didn't understand really why I wanted to do it. All I knew was that if I wanted something, I had to work for it and pay for it myself. So fast forward to 19 years old, got into engineering.
Wow.
And dropped out after one day of school.
One day of uni?
Uni, yeah.
Which uni did you go to?
It was Vic.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm out of here. I was actually electronics engineer. I was listening to the lecture, and he's talking about transistors and resistors, and I was like, nah, I can't do it. I'm out. So I packed my bags and went back to the restaurant and asked for a full-time job, and probably did another year, and that's when I opened up my own place. Straight after.
At 19, you were 20. You opened up your own place.
Yeah.
Did you travel and work anywhere else before that, or were you just in Melbourne?
No, I'm pretty much, you could say, apart from all the places that I worked at, because I did work at a lot of places from 12 to 19, because I'd learn from people, and I'd be like, after a few months, I'm bored. I already know this, so I would move on to something else and learn something else and just keep on going that way. And then at 19, I just decided, I'm going to do this for myself. Self-taught, really.
Between those tender ages of 12 to 19, who was one instrumental person that you had as a boss, as a colleague, that sort of gave you that push to keep going, or maybe gave you like that guidance?
That's a good question, because like from 12 to 19, I probably didn't have anybody. It was more of a personal drive. I had this burning desire that I wanted to be, when I was a kid, I would always, lay in bed and, I've always been like a pretty bad sleeper, always thinking, my mind doesn't stop. And as a kid, I'd be thinking, things like, I don't want to be, ordinary, I want to be extraordinary. That's what I would say to myself when I was a kid. And I think that's what pushed me to get into business, because I've always had a business mind. I've always enjoyed
this commercial mindset.
Yes, yeah, I just enjoy it. I enjoy it. I enjoy that side of it. But my passion for the industry probably started around 17. That's when I really thought, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
What
was it? Like, what was that turning point? Was it a service, or was it a customer, or was it someone?
No, I was working at a really busy restaurant, and I just enjoyed the hustle and bustle of it, and and working with other older people, and being slapped around and stuff. Sort of made you feel like this is real. This is the real world.
Yeah.
So I grew up pretty fast. Like I was 17, I probably felt like I was 30 already, with the hours and the time that I was doing and the experience that I was gaining. It was like I was, fast tracking. Yeah, fast tracking everything.
Yeah.
I
can
would
relate to that a lot.
Yeah, I would do things even in my own business that, are coming on trend now. I was doing it 15 years ago, and people make massive deals about what's happening now, and I'm looking at, fuck, I was doing that 15 years ago, and I was being told that it was shit.
Right.
And now it's all on trend, and things happen. And I've got people that have been working for me for a long time. Like even my best mate still works for me, and he says, Johnny, you were doing this 15 years ago. You were doing this 10 years ago. And his name's Johnny as well. And I say, yeah, I know. We're too far ahead of our time for people to understand. And it was like when we opened here, like when we opened Gradi.
What year did you open Gradi?
2008 we opened. And I opened only for one reason, is because my dad's from Caserta, which is the Campania region near Naples. Before he died, he'd always talk about, I miss the pizza in Napoli. I miss the pizza in Napoli, and he passed away, and I said to my wife, I'm taking some time off. I'm going to Naples. I need to understand what my dad was talking about. So I fly over to Naples, get into Naples, jump in the cab, didn't even go to the hotel. I just said to
So how old were you at this point?
At that point, I was 29. So I'd already been in business for about 10 years. 10 years.
So you had closed all your businesses or sold them, whatever the case may be at that time?
Yeah, so from actually 21 to about 29, I was running 7 businesses. I had 7 takeaway pizzerias.
Okay.
They were all doing really well. Got sick of it. Became a sort of
just repetitive
thing every day.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I learned a lot from that, and I can explain about what I learned from that later on, because I think that was my real business apprenticeship.
Wow.
But yeah, I just sold off businesses and traveled to Naples. Come back and I said, I know what I want to do.
How long were you in Naples for?
A couple of months.
And how did you manage to network? Like, you've never been there before. You're a business owner, so you had to just like shut up, humble yourself, and learn from some of the best.
Yeah, the thing was that is when I got into Naples, and I said to the cab driver, he said, "Oh, where you going?" I said, "Just take me to a pizzeria." And straight out of the airport, and he said, "Are you going to a hotel?" And I said, "No," because I had luggage. And I said, "No, I want to go to a pizzeria." So he dropped me off somewhere, and it was across the road to the most. Actually, he took me to Michele, but it was closed. So Da Michele is the most famous pizzeria in Naples. It was closed, so I went to the one across the road. And I went in and I said, "Oh, can I get a margarita?" And I didn't know what to expect then. And when it came to the table, I was like, "Holy shit, what's this?" And pizza wasn't cut. I cut it. As soon as I put that first piece in my mouth and I bit on it, for me it was like love at first sight.
Wow.
Honestly, like I was freaking out. I straight away get onto the phone and talk to my wife and say, "Man, this pizza's unbelievable," et cetera, et cetera. So then I started hunting around and I came across the association in Naples, made connections through there, went and did a course with them, and it was like I had to forget everything I learned. Like,
how hard was that for you?
It was humbling, because it was nice to see something different. Yeah. Going there and thinking, I had some busy places, and going there and seeing something different and wanting to learn something different and learning from scratch and having to forget everything that you've already learned. For me, it was like erase everything now from your mind. Forget about it. Like,
and that's not easy, man. Like, you were married at the time.
Yeah.
Do you have a family, kids?
Yep.
Like, that's a lot on the line to just go, "Hey, everything I know, just piss it off."
Yep.
And I'm starting again. Yep. And, there's a lot of people that listen to this that are at this sort of transition or this turning point. And, it could be with anything in life, whether it be hospitality, whether it be finance. We've got viewers from all over, but they just find this podcast very relatable. How would you, what was one technique that you dealt with that sort of transition? I know in my life, the biggest factor for me when I was transitioning was a support network. And I didn't need like a big support network. I knew that, okay, my wife knows what I'm going to go through. She's backing me. Yeah. That's all I need. Yeah. If she's backing me, she knows what we're about to go on. Yeah. That's sweet. And I feel like when you said it too, you picked up the phone and you called your wife, you said, "That's it." So how would you, if somebody doesn't have that support network, and this is something that I struggle with because I was blessed to have one, how would you deal with it? Or what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone that's trying to do that transition?
I think first and foremost is you need to follow your dream. People say, "Oh, don't follow your dream." Like I listen to a lot of people and they say, "Oh, your dream is not necessarily what is going to make you successful, but you need to dream." If you don't have a dream, if you don't understand where you want to go, and you need to plan it out in your head, and it doesn't matter who supports you or who does support you, you've got to support yourself. That's the number one support, yourself, right? And the way I plan things out is I look at where I want to be and I plan backwards. I don't plan from where I am.
You reverse engineer it.
I do, yeah. Reverse engineer the whole thing, because I know where I want to go, or I know where I need to get to. But most people don't understand the steps to take to actually get to where you want to get to. So the best way to do it is, okay, have a finishing point, or actually there's no finishing point. Have a point to where you think you want to be, and probably add another 50, 60% on top. Because even if you don't get there, you're already satisfied with wherever you're going to be.
Yeah, we do, like in our house, we have a little whiteboard on the fridge.
Yep.
And we do monthly goals. And there are some months where I don't necessarily have the drive, or sometimes I'm just so stressed where, you know, Jess will go off and she'll write the goals for the month and go, that's what we're fucking chasing, you know? And it's just like that simple goal setting is what's allowed me anyway to grow in my space.
Yeah.
And that's what I find like that I'm relating to you is you're pretty much goal setting. Yeah. You're setting goals that are achievable. You're not setting unrealistic things. Yeah, we can dream and have this massive vision, but I think the way to get there is that you need to set realistic goals. Yeah, you need to work hard and you might need to hustle and bustle your way through, but they're the ones that are achievable, right? Like they're the things that, like you knew that this is a pizza that I want. Maybe you couldn't work in that restaurant, but you found the registered authority that is in Naples and you paid the course and you learned under them for a month.
Correct.
You know, so it's like, okay, now I've accomplished that. Then what was next for you after you went to, after Naples?
Then I came back to Australia. I found this site.
Yeah.
And for me, that was it. It was like...
This was the first site?
Yeah, this was the first site. Everything was like just fell into place.
Yeah.
It was really strange the way it happened. I ended up selling my second last business that I was selling.
Yep.
And the agent said, oh, Johnny, you know, what do you want to do next? And I said, I know what I want to do. I just need to find a site. He then calls me about 3 days later and said, I found the site for you on Lygon Street, Brunswick. And he told me the site and I said, I know this site because this used to be an old video shop. I used to come here and get videos as a kid, right? So I drove past and I said, yeah, this is the site I want. So
was it like a Blockbuster or a Video Easy?
No, it was Video 3000. It was called.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like an independent.
Yeah.
But what you see today is not what it was. It was only a 48-seater. You know, we had 48 seats inside, probably 20 outside, and that was it.
And what was your menu at the time?
Menu was, pretty similar to what we do now. You know, we're always doing, you know, kitchen food and also pizza. But predominantly we were concentrating on the pizza side of it because that's what my passion was for. Yeah. Strangely enough, you know, when I started doing Neapolitan pizza in Melbourne, people didn't understand it.
Really?
And yeah, this is why I say I was always too ahead of my time.
So what year exactly was this open again?
2008.
And no one knew
nobody knew Neapolitan pizza.
Well,
like to the point where people would call...
What was the pizza in Melbourne at the time?
Italian pizza. So people would say wood fire pizza was Italian pizza. It was thin, it was crispy, a little bit of topping on there. Oh, that's Italian pizza. That's what was known. Then I came out with this Neapolitan pizza with a cornicione that's a little bit higher, you know, a little bit of topping. It's a bit soft and pliable, and people would not relate to it because they were like, oh, what's this? So probably first 18 months, I would literally go home every night crying. Like I would get in my car and I'd be like, what have I done? I had a really successful business that I got rid of and I've followed my dream and I'm 18 months in and I'm on the brink of either I close it and because I always kept one of my other businesses, I either close it and just go back into that one and concentrate on that. But I just kept pushing. And, you know, this is where I think, you know, planning and realizing your dream, there's also another thing that kicks in if you're in desperation. Like, and I say this to people and a lot of people don't understand, but I always say, I run my business like I'm about to go broke at the end of the month. Right? And I still do that today. What does that mean? It means that I'm 24 hours on. I'm always thinking about it. I'm always thinking, how can we improve it? Because everyone can improve their business no matter how long you've been in it. You can be in it for 50 years. There's always someone that will bring fresh eyes to it.
And how many stores do you have now?
Now we have 7 here in Australia and a couple overseas.
Whereabouts?
The US.
Where?
In Texas, Dallas, Texas.
Wow, why Texas?
Licensee was from Texas, and
that's amazing. And are the other stores around here licensed, or are they all yours?
They're all ours. Yeah, except for Adelaide. So our interstate store, we just licensed that one.
Yep.
And our Mildura store, which is out in Victoria, country Victoria. Yep. That's licensed as well.
And it's interesting you said the word license. because people get confused licensing with franchise.
Yeah.
Why'd you choose the license route?
People get a bit funny about the word franchise, but when you really think about it, they pretty much do the same thing. There's some differences, but not that many. Responsibility is still there. People think you license the business and
see you later.
It's not the case. You actually work harder. You actually work harder for the licensees as well. Like we got a team behind us that looks after licensees and make sure that they're reaching their goals and et cetera, et cetera. So it's it's not a bad business model, but it's not for everyone.
It's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always found right now in this market, if you're at the stage where you want to grow your business and you're still that hungry owner operator like Johnny here, I think a license model is a great stepping stone. If you look into it, obviously you talk to your legal team, you talk to your accountants and whatever to get that right advice, whatever that is. But I find like the entry to market to be able to grow with the right operating partner on the other end, I think that's the key to success.
Yeah, that's right.
To licensing, right? Franchises, you're buying a job.
Yep.
I think licensing to me is like you're buying a business.
Yep.
But you're in there, in the guts, operating. That's where I've seen it succeed.
Yep.
If you think, especially in this day and age with the way the market's going, the way food costs are, labor costs, if you think you can just turn on the lights, invest $500,000 and money's just going to come roll in with a beautiful fit out,
no, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work, right?
No, not at all.
You need to work the business. You got to be hospitable.
Correct.
And I think that's where your key to success I've seen, and I just feel with your staff anyway, just by walking here on first glance, everyone's invested into the vision.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to your 21 to 28, when you were 21 to 28. And you grew to 7 stores that you own operating. They're like takeaway pizza joints.
Yep.
How did you, we learned how you got the inkling to just go because you're a go-getter, but how did you have the mindset and the capability to run 7 at a time? What was something, instrumental to that success?
I think it's more about perseverance, like I've got this thing that if I get in my head something that I want to do, at all costs, I'm going to get it done. No matter what it means. If I got to work 24 hours, I'll work 24 hours. It's fine. But people always saying to me, "Oh, you're so young. Why are you opening so many stores?" Whatever. It wasn't because I wanted to open a lot of stores. It was more, I got satisfaction out of seeing something
grow,
nothing grow to what it was. And to be honest with you, from 21 to 29, I said before, it was my apprenticeship. I made shitloads of mistakes. I paid for those mistakes.
What was the biggest mistake? What was your biggest financial mistake?
Oh, man.
You copped one, if you thought of one that just goes, ouch, but I learned from it.
I learned early on that people are not who they are or what they perceive to be, and I'm talking about professionals. At that point, I had legal advisors and accounting advisors, and it was all about them. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about trying to help, this business grow. It was how much can we extract from this business? And that was one big lesson. I mean, one financial mistake probably cost me, just under $1 million, and I was only 25 years old. That hurt, right? But I learned from that. So I say, hey, I paid my education. I paid for it. I paid for it in real time. I didn't sit in a classroom or in a lecture hall and listen to a guy telling us what to do and what not to do. I actually lived it, breathed it,
burnt it,
banged my head, built it, the whole lot. I went through it. But today, what that did, it molded me into what I'm doing today. I learned that in business, systems are extremely important. A lot of chefs, a lot of business operators don't understand that, right? Don't understand that. I get a lot of staff that come and work for me, and why do we have to go through all these protocols, all these because this is what makes a business successful. And then I get people that leave and then ring me and say, fuck man, like now I understand because I've gone into this business and they have no idea what they're doing. Now I'm finding it difficult.
And do you think that's like a bit of the engineering mindset that you've got? Like even though you went to it, but you didn't like it. But the way that I'm looking at it is, you know, you got to have a knack for things naturally.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the way that you structure yourself is you're very systematic. You have a methodology, you have an approach to everything. Whether you know what that approach is there and then, you're not sure, but you know that you've got to work it out.
Yeah, and it will change 1,000 times over. Like I'm very reactive. And my staff, you talk to any of my staff, they'll tell you, man, he's reactive. Like, if I don't like something right now, change it. That's it. Yeah. Like, but we need to go, I don't care, change it.
So you say you're not proactive, you're more reactive? Or a bit of both?
Probably both. But I'm very reactive on things that I can really see something that may affect the business and I can change it, you know, really fast.
Okay, this is where I get confused sometimes with reaction versus knee jerking. Have you heard the term knee jerking?
I don't knee jerk.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no knee jerking in it.
Because, you know, someone might say something to you.
No. And knee jerk? No, never. Okay. I don't do that. I'm very, so I'll sit here and if there's 10 people in the room, I'll be the quietest one and I'll listen. And I'll take all the info. But most of the time you won't even hear me give back any suggestions. But I'll listen. I'll take everything on and then I walk away and then I fizzle out the bullshit.
And you execute.
And I execute the things that I know that are going to work. But I'm really fast at executing. So, I'll give you an example. I got into manufacturing during COVID, right?
I grew manufacturing.
Yeah, I manufacture ready-made meals, pizzas, all that sort of stuff, right? So, and I had to do that because restaurants were closed here for a long time. And so it just started from me making some pizzas and putting them into a cryovac bag and selling them down the road. I found a little place up the road, filled it up with pallets of stuff, and we were just selling things whatever we could, right? Anything, bags of flour. I was doing online courses. I was doing everything I could just to survive, right? That business, I turned that business into something that has actually outgrown my restaurants.
Wow.
In 4 years. But it's been me being very reactive on things. Like, you know, I've got a manufacturing facility now that when we started was 600 square meters. We've gone into 7,000.
Wow.
Right? So, you know, and it's really grown into, I call that a business. See, this is my passion. Like, I don't look at my restaurants as my business anymore. I love my restaurants because for me, I get more satisfaction when someone gets a pizza, bites into it and you know, has that wow reaction. I'll give you that pizza for free. I don't even want your money because for me, that's my satisfaction. My business is what I'm doing right now in manufacturing. It's different. You know, it's a completely different ball game, two different worlds. Two different worlds, yeah.
And, you know, pivoting from restaurants to manufacturing, but maintaining these restaurants, the brand, how do you navigate, like, see, a lot of people, what happens is when they see the grass greener on the other side, they lose focus on what actually got them there in the first place. Mm-hmm. How do you continue to humble yourself? Because now you're desensitized to numbers. Like when you're talking a 600 square meter factory to 7,000 square meters, like that's big numbers.
Yep.
Right? And you're desensitized to the volume. Like gone from the days of doing 200-300 pizzas a night here, now you're producing 1,000 pizzas every couple of hours down there. How do you, in your mind, you know, because people come across those challenges where they run a restaurant, then they go do an event. This is what kills me all the time. They have this buzzing restaurant and then they get hit up. Hey, I want you to fly here. I want you to do this event. Here's 20 grand. Come and do it.
Yeah.
They see this big paycheck for a week's worth of work, right? How do you manage to sort of keep humbling yourself and even though the numbers are desensitized, how do you still keep that focus on the business? Because at the end of the day, you could be making all the money in the other business, but if this is bleeding, you're screwed.
Like I said earlier, I run my business like I'm about to go broke at the end of the month. That's how I keep myself true and real.
Yeah, that's fucking.
I don't forget about everything that I do. Not one of them gets neglected, because I'm on all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You know, I'll give you an example. 2 Saturdays ago, I was driving past here. I don't know why. Stop the car, come inside. Manager, what are you doing? Nothing. I'm just going to come and help. And they, what are you going to do? I'll stay on the pass. You guys look after the customers. I'll look after the kitchen. When it's in you and you really love what you're doing and you believe, you know, in what you're doing. And that's why before I said, you know, people say, oh, you know, your dreams don't really become your success. That's probably true for some people. But if you dream hard enough, it can become your success. But you got to dream really hard, you know, because it's not like, oh, you know, I'd love to do, I don't know, I don't know, something like, oh, I'd love to travel the world, and that's what. Is that a realistic dream? Because you need something to get you to the point where you travel the world. So traveling the world isn't a dream, that it's something that you would like to do. It's not a dream, right? So dreams need to be, to monetize the dream needs to be something that you really believe in and you can achieve. That's all it is. Yeah. And that's how I've done it all the time. You know, like, did I think I was ever going to become, you know, a manufacturer? Never. Not even, it wasn't even in the back of my mind. It happened because of the situation we were in. But then I saw an opportunity that, you know what, I enjoy it. I like seeing the product become better and better and better and better. And also, for me, getting to manufacturing wasn't, I want to do a lot of numbers. No, I want to lift the quality that's in the supermarkets. So that's my purpose. Yeah. My purpose is, okay, I'm going to manufacture pizzas or lasagna or sauces or whatever I'm doing. I want it to be the best on the shelf. So I'm always running with that mindset. It's like when we did pizza, I want to do the best pizza. I want to have the best pizza. Now, the best pizza for me might be one thing, and then someone has it, it's not the best, that's fine. You know, you said something before, he's a world champion. What does that mean? Like, you know, people say to me, oh, you won the world championship. How do you feel? I don't feel anything, because I was only the best on that day. Doesn't mean that I was the best in the world. I was just the best on that day. The judges enjoyed what I gave them. But guess what? There were thousands of other people that were in that room competing that were just as good as me, if not better, because they still had the same passion, because they were there trying and trying to achieve a dream to win this competition. So the person that went before me and the person that went after me, I think that they were just as good as me. So so that's a different achievement.
Yep.
You know, that becomes, for me, that was 2 achievements. One, obviously a personal achievement, because
self-validation.
It's sort of self-validating, you know, oh yeah, then I know what I'm doing. I really enjoy what I'm doing. Second, I put Australia on the map. That was more satisfying for me.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like, people across the world thought that we were eating Pizza Hut or whatever it is, or Domino's. That's what they thought, until that happened.
And you started the movement.
And, you know, I don't know, people might not agree with it or whatever, but I believe, you know, a lot of the pizzerias out there, I mean, a lot of people that have opened Neapolitan pizza have either learned from me or worked for me. But I feel proud of that. I feel connected to that.
And how do you continue to strive to mentor people like that? In that, you know, that when someone walks in the door, they've got a potential to go out and go out on themselves. The same way that you learned between 12 and 18. Yeah. You know, how do you feel on that journey when you mentor someone?
I'm happy for them. But, you know, and I always give honest advice. Like, if someone comes to me and says, Johnny, I want to open up a pizzeria, what do you think? I say, why are you opening the pizzeria? I want to make money. Don't open a pizzeria. What do you mean? Because people think opening a business is going to make you, or give you an instant great life. actually, if you want to have the first 10 years of your first business career bring you to a point of breaking point, and you know that you've got the resilience and the drive to break through that, do it. But if, and I always say, are you happy not to make money for the first 3-4 years? I can't do that. Then don't open a business. If someone says to me, I'm happy to try, and do it, great. Then as long as you go in with a mindset that maybe I'm not going to make money for the first 2-3 years and you still want to do it. Because you might make money from day one. Doesn't mean that you're not going to, but you need to understand that maybe you won't. You actually probably won't. It happened to me. I opened here 18 months, man. Like I said, I'm not kidding. I'd get in my car and I'd drive home and I'd be crying to myself thinking, what the fuck have I done? I left something that I'd built over 9 years and, it was good. I was making a living, everything was great. To come to this because
you were passionate
because I was passionate about it. Now I'm bleeding and I get home and not show that I was emotionally drained. Business takes a lot out of you, and you need to really be able to persevere and accept it.
If I had your younger self right in front of you now, literally, that 21-year-old that was about to go start into business is sitting in front of you, where that camera is right now. If you look down the barrel of the camera, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your 21-year-old self?
Hire people better than you, man. Because that will make you. Hire people that are better than you, but are scared to do it for themselves. But they're not scared to do it for someone else because there's no risk on them. And get them to help you through the journey. A good person can bring you up. A bad person can destroy you. And people are probably the hardest part of this business because we are in the people business. We're in the people business with people sitting down.
On the front and the back.
And we're in the people business in the back end, right?
And all our other stakeholders is all people.
Correct. Suppliers, the whole lot.
Stakeholders.
Invest in good people. That's something that I would probably tell myself.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that, in business we use the word internal and external stakeholders because you can't consider them, they're just my staff. They're just my suppliers.
No.
That's just my providor. Fuck him, he's just, he's my fruit and veg guy. Yeah. No, they're stakeholders in your business.
Correct.
They're like business partners.
Correct.
They're making you or breaking you. So you got to treat them with respect, honesty, dignity.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting the same back, it's like a cancer. You got to cut it out.
That's right.
And that's what I find that. But before you cut people out, you got to look at yourself in the mirror first. You got to think, why is that person treating me that way? Am I treating him like shit?
That's right.
And I think a self-reflection is a big thing that, it's a taboo. No one wants to talk about it. Some people might think, I don't self-reflect. What's the point of that? I work on myself. What does that mean? No. If you don't self-develop, you're not getting anywhere.
Correct.
You're going to be stuck in your own thoughts. It's like never traveling outside your little suburb.
Exactly.
You want to stay in your block, you'll stay in your block.
Yeah,
but if you self-reflect, you'll be able to grow.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I've gone to uni, I studied hospitality management. I've become a food service consultant. I'm doing my MBA, but nothing beats a school of hard knocks. You jumped in the kitchen at 12, I jumped in the kitchen at 8.
Yeah.
That's how I used to hang out with my dad.
Yeah.
Dad would always have businesses on the side, and to see him on the weekends, because weeknights he was busy at different restaurants.
Yep.
So on the weekends, I'd go in there on a Saturday morning, wake up at 4:35 a.m, go in there and just be in the dishwasher. Love the spray gun. Just fucking, if the chef pissed me off, I'll just quickly spray him, But, behind the slicer at 11 years old, that's why I found my passion in the industry, because the same thing that you said, age is just a number. It's when you start. Like, it's the hours that you put into the game.
Yeah.
It's like playing a video game.
Yeah.
If you're playing hours and hours and hours of it, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
Same thing. If you put the hours into the business, especially if you're a staff member, like I find that, you know, the staff that do really well are the ones that commit. They have their work-life balance, but if they want to really grow,
they'll put the effort.
Put the effort in.
100%.
Go in and say, hey, Johnny, listen, I want to learn something.
Yeah.
What's the responsibility that you have that you can just pass on to me and let me run that? Let me own that for 3 months.
Yeah.
Let me be the guy that's accountable for this. The minute you do that, you're upskilling yourself.
Correct.
You don't have to go pay for courses because you know what? You've got the best course right here, right now.
Exactly.
You know? And
I honestly, I live by a 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah.
10,000 hours. You want to be professional at something? 10,000 hours. That's it. Do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And you'll find that over time, you'll find better ways to do it, right? It just becomes natural. It's not something that you're learning. You're learning as you're going.
I used to have a crew of architects that worked in my firm. 7 people. Interior designers, architects, and they were all better than me. I never went to draftsman college. I didn't learn how to draw. Yep. I learned off them.
But I bet you knew how to get the work.
I knew how to get the work.
Exactly. And this is where I said to you before, employ people that are better than you.
1,000,000%. And COVID came, I had to let go of that, the whole design team, because no new venues were coming up. Yeah. And then people still wanted kitchen designs. I had to design kitchens, man. I still had to design kitchens. So I was like, okay, I can't afford the whole crew. Subcontracting wasn't really working out because the rates were too expensive. So I just upskilled myself.
Yep.
I've done my time. These are all the projects that I led, you know, design and managing over 600 venues across Australia.
Yeah.
I said, here it is. Did a drafting course. Because I could sketch a kitchen. I could easily sketch it, but I just couldn't put it in the computer.
Yeah. And
I did that. And then fast forward now, from 2020 to 2024, I'm designing kitchens in the US, the UK.
There you go.
The EU, Singapore, all virtual.
Yeah.
And people were like, how is that possible? I used to sit in a meeting for 2.5 hours and we used to lose all this information. If the meetings aren't online now, I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
We record it.
We're recording it.
You can go back.
You can go back and listen.
Yeah. And your brief becomes more clear.
Yeah, I understand. Sitting face to face and networking, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
But I personally say, if you're a business owner, move your meetings online. Utilize AI for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Get an AI meeting assistant. It'll record the whole meeting for you. It'll take your meeting minutes. I used to have an assistant sit there taking meeting notes when she doesn't even understand what we're talking about. You know? So it's just like, that's ways now you can optimize your business. And then you one thing that we can never get back is time.
100%. Well, people are buying services to
win time.
To win time.
Right? And that's our point. But if
I'll ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
How many times have you cut the grass at home?
I don't have grass.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to.
There you go.
Because
you don't want to.
No, it would take forever. So the first day I moved in.
There you go.
I flat laid
concrete.
It was like, you know, what they call like the fake grass. Yeah. And some you know, the rocks on the bottom. Put some fake grass and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So and now if I got to do some gardening, air tasker, boom, someone come in, see you later.
That's right. And that's what I mean. And there's always a service for someone out there.
100%.
So you create work, saves you time, then you have to utilize that time
to do something more productive.
And this is where a lot of people fail. Because what people do is they might have spare time, they want to waste it on dumb shit. That's the problem.
I understand if it's remedial for you. Like if there are people that, I like gardening, it's a hobby. Great, that's your hobby.
No, I'm talking about people that are getting people to come and do their gardening.
Yeah.
And they've
blown their time.
They've blown the time. I think, you know, people always say to me, Johnny, you're opening another restaurant now, how about your work-life balance? What does work-life balance mean, man? Like, I have no concept of that. Work-life balance is personal. It's how you want to treat it. If I want to spend 50 hours this week with my family, I will choose to do that. But if I know I can only spend 15 hours with my family, they understand it.
And how do you communicate that?
It's just become part of our family structure. Like, all my kids know, my wife knows, my wife works as hard as I do. My kids now are a little bit older, but they get it. They get it and they actually appreciate it. They appreciate what we're doing, and they learn from it as well. But I never expect them to do what I do. That's the difference. I've never said to any of my kids, oh, you should become a chef, you should go and do law, and you should be a professional at something. I've always said to them since they were little kids, you choose your own path, because they will fall into their own path. And they're going to love what they do because we've brought them up with a culture in the family that we love what we do, so they will love what they do when they choose 100% what they want to do. My oldest daughter, she runs one of my biggest restaurants. I never ever asked her if she wanted to do that. No, she fell into it. She loved it, and now she's probably one of my best front of house people. Not because she's my daughter, but she just loves what she does. She loves people. People love her. She's probably more personable than I am. I'm telling you, like, she's like next level.
And how do you manage that? Family business is such a big thing in Australia. It's the forefront of small business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of families that are integrated in their business because, of our high cost of living, and kids need to work there to support, and whatever the case may be. Do you separate the family and the business, or do you, like, how do you keep that balance between I'm not saying work-life balance, but I'm saying family and business? Where do you draw the line?
So, my kids will probably, I don't know if they'll agree with this, but if we're at home, I don't want to talk about anything. I don't want to talk about business. We're at home. Let's talk about something else. Because you do need a shut-off point. But you got to choose where that is. Is it at the dinner table? That you just really, embrace and enjoy each other's company there? Possibly. And if there is a question, it might be a really quick, short question, but nothing else. Like, I'll never ask my daughter anything about work when I'm at home. Ever. No. I've made a really conscious decision about that. I will never ask anything. And vice versa, I don't want to be asked. Yeah. Like I say, I don't want to hear about it. Fix it. So I will never give a solution to a question if my daughter was to ask me. If there's a problem and she says, I've got this problem, what do? What would you do? Because people know the answer. So I treat her like I would treat any of my other managers, anyone else. What would you do? What do you think you should do? And it gets the mind going, right? And that's how people grow. You've got, that's how you make people grow. I always tell the managers, let your staff own the idea. Everyone's got a good idea. Even when people say, oh, that's a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It's just not an idea that you like.
My wife's number one with ideas. She's got all the ideas in the world. And then 3-4 months later, someone's went and done it. So I told you.
But this is what I'm saying, is that your wife might have 100 ideas. I'm not saying that all of them are going to be right, but you should never discount any of them.
100%.
You might want to say, oh, I'll spend 10 minutes on thinking about that. In that 10 minutes, you don't know what comes up out of it. So it's you should never ever discount. I never discount anyone's ideas, anyone at all. I'll give you an example. I say this to my chefs all the time. The most important person in the kitchen right now, who is it?
For me?
Yeah.
It'd be the kitchen hand or the dishwasher.
100%. 100%.
That's my opinion.
And no one understands this.
Only because I worked in there from 8 years old. And you know what? If you're the heartbeat of the kitchen, if you're not washing those pans, you're not washing those trays, you're not washing those plates,
shit, mate.
you're not getting nothing out.
Exactly. I made a point of that one day. I really did make a point of that one day. I had a kitchen hand that was with me for probably about 5 years. And she was an older lady, but she was amazing. You know, like I used to treat her like she was my mum. And the head chef at the time was yelling at her. And I could see that she was getting deflated. And so at the end of the shift, I said, what's going on?
Yeah.
The chef's always yelling at me. I said, it's all right. I said, don't worry about it. I said, tomorrow, do me a favor. When you start and the chef comes and gives you the pans, don't wash any of them. And she said, no, I'll get in trouble. I said, no, I'm telling you, don't do it. I said, I'll be on the pass, don't do it. And she said, no, I don't want to do that. And I said, if you don't do it, I said, I'm going to tell you to go home. So I stood at the pass and she's looking at me and I'm like, And he kept giving the pan. He kept shouting out, pans. And she's like looking at him, I could see she's sweating. And I'm going, don't touch the pan. And he's walked over and started yelling, where's the fucking pans? So I walked in the kitchen. I said, what's the problem? I don't have any pans. We're busy. And I said, I said, he needs pans. And she's looking at me like, what? You told me not to wash the pans. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you move out of the way? I said, wash your own fucking pans. Wash your pans and then go and cook your food. I made a point of it because I needed this person to understand, even though he had a lot of experience in the industry, I needed him to understand that you need to respect everybody the same, right? And to his testament, he came up to me at the end of the night and he goes, no one's ever done that to me. He said, I understand why you do that. I said, you don't do that to people. You respect them. Even delivery drivers. I always tell his chef, if there's a wrong order that comes in the back door,
it's not the driver's fault.
It's not the driver's fault, man. Just give them a break. Because can you imagine how many places they've gone to and they're getting yelled at? Just pick up the phone, talk to the office, we've got a problem, blah, 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 and fix it. People, these simple things, people don't understand. People get into business, you know what happens? The ego takes over. That's the biggest downfall in any business person, like across all industries. As soon as you believe you're bigger than the business, bigger than the people that you employ, mate, you are going to fail. That I can guarantee.
What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who is on the journey to starting their business right now? If there was one statement that you would make.
Plan your heart out. It's difficult, but it will definitely, it'll definitely pay off. And stick to the plan, because a lot of people can plan, but what happens is obstacles come in the way, and they think, I won't do that now because I need to do this. I think if you've got a plan and you keep on that road, you got to stick to it. Don't veer off. And that's probably the only advice. Like really, business is tough. You know, man.
Yeah.
Like business is tough, you know, and things get thrown at you every day.
It's a sideball, but you just got to persevere. You got to know your purpose.
Yeah.
You got to know your plan.
Yeah.
Johnny, I just want to really, really, really thank you. This was an emotional podcast actually for me because I related a lot, and this is the first time I've met you, and I could just literally see pure passion and drive and just humbleness. Like it's hard to explain to some people at this level. And I have people that, you know, come to me for help all the time, and I don't always have the answer. You don't always have the answer. And that's why I love networking and leaning on professionals like yourself to be able to share your story. And I'm so happy that you were, you know, open and transparent, considering, you know, there's a lot on the stake these days with media and stuff like that. But you're a true gentleman. You showed your cards, and, you know, I think no wonder why you've got such an amazing establishment.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. And I think I've made a new friend. I'm proud.
100%.